I hope so. Uranium is absolutely ripping today, dude.
Ripping, dude, ripping. There's so much news that came out over the last 72 hours. It's just so bullish, and the spot market is just hasn't even quivered. It's got a long way to go, and for I know for the redditors and the Wall Street bets people out there, believe me, we do not need your squeeze. The fundamentals are there for uranium. They have been, and congratulations to Longs, and congrats to the people that just got on board.
Let's go. Well said.
That's right.
Very well
That's
said.
Right. It's going to be a long ride. The revolution of green energy and predominantly, in my belief, nuclear is going to take over and be the forefront of decarbonizing planet Earth. So it's going to be interesting.
I'm very curious to see what Bill Gates does with TerraPower. I mean, he talked a little bit about it on 60 Minutes the other night.
Right. But it seems like almost every week there's a new company. Even Rolls-Royce is getting involved in SMR, small modular reactors. They have renderings of their setups. I mean, it's not just TerraPower. I think TerraPower just is predominantly the one talked about because, of course, Bill Gates kind of endorsing them and investing in them. But there are so many different companies out there and so many different models of this SMR that's now, it's cheaper to build, it's faster to build. You could build it in rural locations. You could build it in Arctic temperatures. It's very versatile, and it's certainly going to be the future.
How long does it take to build an SMR? Because the traditional reactors take like 10 years to build, right?
Yeah, traditional reactors cost upwards close to $10 billion too, whereas these new SMRs are going to be anywhere between $500 million to $1 billion. So we're talking like tenth of the price and far faster to develop. I mean, some of them are pretty much essentially the size of two school buses butted up against each other that could probably generate enough power to power anywhere between 50,000 to 100,000 homes. Whereas a traditional conventional reactor can power millions of homes, but still, you're just building these smaller guys in volume that are going to be popping up much faster, and they need fuel to run on. And not only that, not only are they going to be utility companies going to be contracting the amount of fuel that they need, but they need to also get secondary supply and reserves for all of these new reactors. You have 100 in, I think China wants to triple their nuclear fleet in the next 10 years. They have 55 reactors under construction right now. And I'm not talking about small modular reactors. I'm talking about conventional reactors. So, the demand for uranium, this might not be a squeeze. This might be a long-lasting cycle from what some people are predicting. So it's going to be very interesting.
Right. Yeah. There's like people piling in for the short-term trade, but then there's also people in it that are like super long on it.
Very. Yeah. I don't see personally myself. I'm going to probably. I think this year, 2021, is going to be ridiculous in terms of just like the attention on uranium and nuclear in general, which is going to drive the market, of course. But I think the real mega life-changing gains are going to happen between 2022 and 2024. And I don't know if I'm going to be around past that, but I intend on holding for the next 2 to 3 years at least.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, so what the thesis is basically wait until the spot price goes back up to, or like goes back up to $60 or something like that, or even, or it could be even higher.
Yes, and well, $60 spec is incentive price for most mines to operate. I mean, so you got to think about it like that. These mines are going to be staying closed until the price gets to a point where, they're incentivized to open. So the longer they're closed, the harder the market is squeezing and secondary supply is draining. Cigar Lake is closed down, the largest mine in the world. McArthur River just had another positive case, in Canada. In Canada right now, they're not planning on opening up a lot of these businesses until they get vaccines rolled out. And Canada is very behind on vaccines. So, we're talking about Cigar Lake that produces 1.5 million pounds a month of uranium. That is adding to the supply deficit every day that goes on. So, there's so much there's so many different, catalysts to this market that are just squeezing the hell out of it. And it's expanding by the day, and supply is shrinking by the day. It's a perfect micro, economic situation.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for sure. But
Tons.
And to add to that, there's also Dennison Mines, which I think announced last week that they found like a high concentration of uranium in one of the areas of land that they own, right? Was that Dennison?
Yeah, up in the Athabasca region, correct?
Right. Yeah.
That's where you have some of the most highest grade uranium on Earth, and a lot of these Canadian companies, NextGen, Dennison, ISO Energy, Cameco, Forum, a lot of these guys are gonna strike high grade stuff, and that's important. The grade of uranium is important, just like the grade of copper, silver, tin, pretty much any commodity. It's not just, you don't just drill, hit something, pull it out, and it's the same as anybody else on another asset. It's not like that at all, actually. But, the Athabasca region has very, very high grade. The only concerns that people have with that is, permitting process. Canadian bureaucracy takes a lot longer than a lot of other places in the world. But, hey, that's not to say that they're not going to be bought out by Cameco or Kazatomprom or a Chinese utility company. I mean, the war of the asset war that is starting to finally become into focus is extremely imminent right now, and I think it's been going on for a while. There was a report that came out today about China with rare earths, about trying to corner the market so that they can get ahead on the United States defense. The U.S. ain't going to allow that to happen, so I hope they don't. So they have some work to do, because China has cornered the rare earths market for years, and finally it's getting attention.
Yeah, that's wild. That's also part of the reason why they took over Tibet and that whole area, because it's like geographically positioned on the plateau of the Himalayas, and in that soil and in that ground there's all these minerals and rare earth metals and like all this crazy stuff in there. So
absolutely.
That's why they took over that whole area.
And just a quick comment on tin before I have to hop off. But the tin market went up 15% overnight this weekend. Went from 25,000 to I think 29,000. Went up $5,000 overnight. I mean, talk about absolutely explosive gains. The tin industry is being cornered into a back corner. You have Myanmar, which is under a military coup. Myanmar is the third largest producer in the world of tin. There's a lot of uncertainty there, and the markets do not like uncertainty, and especially with this semiconductor shortage. You have Kia, Hyundai, Ford. They stopped building cars because they don't have computer chips. There are not enough semiconductors in the world right now, and there are so many different technology companies that are freaking out. So it's no surprise. Tin is the number one metal used in semiconductors and microchips. And, that's going to be very interesting to watch as well. So keep an eye on tin.
Tin, how much of an allocation of one's portfolio is appropriate for tin, in your opinion?
In my opinion, God, it really depends. I'm a guy of asymmetry, and I like to position myself to be lucky. But in this certain, I trimmed some gains, some uranium gains for tin to get some tin exposure. I own a company called Metals X Limited. It's an Australian company. There's also another company out there that I like.
An Aussie, eh?
Yeah, Aussies, the Tasmanian region. They got high grade tin. They're the largest producer of tin in Australia. So I like having an Aussie company because they're going to be friendly to the U.S. They're going to be friendly to Europe. They're going to be friendly to Canada. Yeah, they might do a lot of deals with China, but now that there is possibly this asset war, the United States is going to need to go to their allies, and one of their biggest mining allies next to Canada is Australia.
That's interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to keep an eye on that one. But what is the other one that you were talking about? AFM?
AFM. Give me one moment. I'll check the name for you. That is Alphamin Resources Corp. On the New York Stock Exchange, it's AFMJF.
AFMJF. Wait, it's on New York Stock Exchange? It's OTC?
Yes, it's got the OTC.
Oh, shit. Look at this one. This one's popping off.
It's up 7% right now, what I'm seeing. But Metals X Limited is up 18%. And shit, man. I mean, that was up 80% once in a day. So if you think that this is it, you're mistaken. I think it goes much higher.
All right, tin. Tin is officially on the radar.
Tin is in, baby. Tin is in.
Get in on the tin.
Yes. It was nice talking to you.